Hey everybody, this is Miss Moriarty, and I'm here to continue discussing our topic of 6.2. Remember, in class today, we discussed the difference between renewables and non-renewables, and then we got into the discussion of how developing countries, as they continue to industrialize, they're going to have much greater energy demands. And unfortunately, it's typically fossil fuels and non-renewable resources that we highly depend upon for that energy demand. So if we want to reevaluate the energies that we use, we have to evaluate how we use them. So here, fossil fuels we know is the most common fuel source globally. Specifically, oils is our number one, and that's going to be gasoline, typically used to fuel our vehicles, followed by coal, which is the main fuel for electricity generation, and natural gas, which is a secondary fuel for electricity generation and fuel for heating homes. The next is hydroelectric energy, and that's usually energy created via a dam. And so what we do is we tend to dam rivers, and so it stops and controls the actual water flow. And when we control the water flow, we can establish turbines, and those turbines are going to spin due to the water flow, and that generates electricity. And that's our second largest source of energy on Earth. Followed by nuclear power, which is the third largest source. We obtain energy via nuclear power by breaking apart uranium-235, and when we do that, it releases heat, and it's going to then turn water into steam, and that steam is going to turn a turbine to generate electricity. Now here is our practice FRQ for topics 6.1 and 6.2. In the table here, we have less developed countries and more developed countries, and we have their energy consumption as well as total population between present and then 2050. So in our question here, we want to calculate the percent increase in our total energy consumption for LDCs and MDCs. So take a second and please pause this video and answer your practice FRQ. Okay, at this point, you should have paused the video and answered the practice FRQ. So let's see how we did. In the first question in A1, you'll see that here we took the 2050 energy consumption of lesser developed countries and we subtracted it by the present, right? Because remember, in order to calculate percent increase or decrease, we often take the final minus initial. And then we're going to put that over the initial energy consumption times 100, and that's going to get us about a 300% increase in energy consumption between now to 2050. Looking at MDCs, we're going to set it up pretty much the same exact way. We're going to take our final minus our initial over the initial times 100, and that's going to give us about 20% increase from now to about 2050. And remember, we see these increases because we're seeing an increase in population, which we know is going to further that energy demand. All right, guys, at this point, you should mark this assignment as done, and don't forget to complete your Albert IO practice questions.